understanding that this game of sales, it is an emotional sport. It's not logic, right? Now, granted, and let me take a step back, there are instances where you have to be logical, right? But the timing of being logical is very, very important. Most of your sales pitches or your presentations really need to come from an emotional standpoint. So you have to understand how to tap into the emotions. And I know you heard it time and time again. You'd be like, oh, D, man, you're always talking about emotions, yeah. But at the end of the day, sometimes we don't really get it. Again, it seems simple, right? And let me give you an example, okay? I got this loan officer, we'll just call him Gus, right? So Gus, when he hears me talk about, sell with emotion, right? Using emotion, what he's thinking about is that you sell with enthusiasm, right? So you sell being emotional, like, ooh, hey, you see what I'm saying? And oftentimes, a lot of us, we think that that's normal because that's the mainstream, traditional, quote unquote, corporate sales trainer methods and teachings is you got to be punctual, right? You got to be enthusiastic. Of course, you got to be enthusiastic, but I promise you, you could do it low key. You don't necessarily need to be amped off coffee. And there's a reason for that. Again, approaching the concept of emotions, when you're dealing with emotions, the last thing you want to do is put your prospect or your client in an emotional state of fear. So you could leverage fear in a good way, or you could leverage fear in a bad way. If you call your prospects, or you're doing outbound calls, or you're taking inbound calls, even if you're doing referrals, and you're that one dude or you're that one girl, it's like, hey, nice to meet you. Hey, perfect. Awesome. What you're doing is you're actually putting your prospect in a state of protection, that the red flags go up. And the reason why is because you have to understand through empathy and just being aware that any salesperson is already by default expected to act that way when they're trying to get over on you, when they're trying to persuade you, when they're trying to sell you, right? So think of like your everyday infomercial, a commercial for that matter. Infomercials are things that will sell you like vitamins or sell you like the new widget, and they're all coming from an enthusiastic standpoint. So like, hey, Jim, what do you think about this? Oh, this is amazing and this is awesome. And you know who genuinely purchases from that? Elderly. Why? Because for the elderly audience, that's how they came up. They grew up that way, right? Now, here's the thing though. Here's the funny thing that sometimes we forget to adapt and get with the times is that the new generation, right? The seeds of the elderly and so on and so forth, we now perceive that as a red flag. But again, depending on where you're getting your resources and where you're getting your training, they're not going to tell you anything different. They're just going to tell you, hey, be professional, be aggressive, be aggressive. You know what I'm saying? And man, you just got it all wrong. So again, understand emotion.